Remember a time when people met and people talked about an India A game. And I can't remember a time when people discussed an India A game more than they're discussing an actual India game, which is going on at roughly the same time. This is a sensation. The sensation's name is a 15-year-old, kid faced, crazily talented Vaibhav Suryavanshi. I don't know where to start. So there was this whole incident that happened in the previous game where Vaibhav comes out to face the super over basically, and India had to chase down this number of runs. And in all fairness, he didn't really get the first three balls to face, and he only got the fourth ball. And I think the fourth ball he kind of missed, and so the fifth ball he had to get a four or a six, and he did get a four. And the last ball he eventually missed it, and of course with 8 runs to get, it wasn't to happen. But what led after that was the concern is that it's obvious that the other Sri Lankan A team members kind of got underneath the skin of Suryavanshi, and he's a kid. Let's be honest. Someone would have said something. He didn't know how to control himself, and there was a little bit of a spat, and a lot of people got talking, saying, is this the right example? What is happening? He's a kid, all that stuff. There were calls of dropping him altogether for the final, which was today. It's going on right now, in fact. But I think common sense prevailed, and they did have him back. So a lot of people were calling this the revenge match, if you may. And Vaibhav Suryavanshi did not disappoint. I'm talking about numbers that pretty much are only possible when you play book cricket, or they're possible when you play, video games. I'm talking about a 15-year-old kid over here. Please, please, please keep that in mind when you understand these numbers. First six balls, continuous boundaries. I think the first five or six, I'm not sure, but whatever it is, the first few balls, I think three fours and two sixes or something of that sort. Then 11th ball, 11th ball, 50. Does that make sense? 11 ball 50 by a 15-year-old kid against a Sri Lankan A team. And 29 balls to get 94 runs. I mean, I don't even know how to make you understand this. Priyan Chari on the other side is a damn good batsman. Okay, like he is one of the finds of the IPL. And compared to how Vaibhav was batting, the kid Priyan Charia was like a school kid. I mean, this guy is a school kid. I'm not denying it. But the point is, Priyancharya looked mediocre compared to what Vaibhav Suryavanshi was doing. Not just Priyancharya, the entire team looked mediocre. And of course, when Ruturaj Gaikwad is supposed to be next Virat Kohli and is supposed to be next Rohit Sharma, Tilak Verma, the backbone of Indian cricket in the years forward, when they end up with strike rates of 70 and 65 and all that stuff, you're really left wondering what's going on. But the point is, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, man, it was a spectacle to watch him play. And it's not that he played, a slog every single ball. That's not it. It's not it at all. It wasn't a slog. Neither was it crisp timing. So it's not like a Tendulkar, where you have that sweet, like flow of the bat, or that perfect timing, that perfect shape. You know what a shape is, right? When Tendulkar hits that cover drive, or when he stands up on his feet for a backward punch, or when he does that leg glance, there's something so aesthetic and so beautiful about it. This is not that. When you had Yuvraj Singh with that fantastic swing of the bat, like how he'd like bend his knees and the bat would just come flowing through. This is not that either. This is completely different. I think Glenn McGrath was the one who correctly said that he bats a lot like Brian Lara, and I completely agree with that. So what I want to say here, it might not be true, and I'm sure people who see it will probably point out mistakes. But every time I see him bat, I feel the same way. Is that there is a little bit of a whipping action that Vaibhav Suryavanshi does when he bats, which really gives that power and that oomph into that whole shot. I mean, the kid is a big kid. Okay, don't get me wrong. I mean, he might not be the fittest and stuff. I'm sure with time he will become professional and fit and everything. But as a 15-year-old, you still don't have your body muscles developed. I mean, I'm not talking about Virat Kohli style muscles. I'm not talking about Kiran Pollard style muscles. I'm not talking about Hardik Pandya type, muscles and stuff. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the kid doesn't have physically the kind of shape and dimensions which you think is enough to generate that kind of power, and that kind of power is coming from the way he bats and the way he makes contact with the ball. That whip that he gets, that really kind of pushes the ball the extra mile. I think more than anything else, what really, really, really separates Suryavanshi from the rest of the gang, and that gang is a very, very talented gang nonetheless, is his mindset. There seems to be absolutely zero fear. I mean, I've always said this. I think it was after the when I saw him bat in the semi-final of the India under 19 at the under 19 World Cup. Yes, I actually watched the under 19 World Cup also, specifically for this kid. The semi-final and the final, and I think in the final it was when he kind of tore up the history books with some crazy knock of 179 or 195 or 200 or whatever it was. I don't know what it was, but it was crazy. I think ever since that time, I've always felt that what Vaibhav Suryavanshi, it's not that he had one particular weakness or one particular shot, but I think what Vaibhav Suryavanshi does very well is that when he plays, there seems to be a single point intention that every ball I face is going to go to the boundary. Yes, there was a couple of innings where he did show some quote unquote maturity. I don't know why maturity, if you don't hit the boundary and if you don't take risks, that's considered maturity. That's considered playing off into the team. Yes, no, I'll agree. Yes and no to that. Take Travis Head. I think when the chips are down, the guy just comes out swinging hard, and more often than not, it kind of comes off. And they say that's the Aussie way or whatever it is. Take Harry Brook. Chips are down. He comes out swinging hard, and often it works out. But the point is, he also did play some sort of a mature innings, if you may, in one of the knockout tournaments, one of the knockout games this IPL. But I don't think that really kind of made an impact because that's not him. What Vaibhav Suryavanshi is a carefree, I see it, I hit it kind of a player, and that's exactly what we got to witness today. 29 balls for a 94. It just changed the game like that. And despite the horrible, horrible performance of two experienced pros, you know, uh, who were batting later on, and obviously a lot more experience than Vaibhav himself was. Still, India managed to post a very good total. Thanks completely to Vaibhav Suryavanshi's heroics at the end, and I guess Anukul Roy's heroics at the ending. But coming back to Vaibhav over here, so there was this one particular series of events that is unfortunately becoming all too common across most of his innings, is his inability to judge when to let go of the short ball. So there is this particular thing. If you remember Sachin Tendulkar versus Shoaib Akhtar, I think it was one of the World Cups. Shoaib Akhtar comes beaming in and he just kind of balls one. I think it was like a bouncer, maybe like between, on fifth stump. Let me put it that way. And what does Tendulkar do? Of course, Tendulkar was in shorter stature, so he just kind of bends down and just kind of does that, and the ball just goes sailing, um, you know, north of third man and goes for a six. I think the same shot he played for Brett Lee too. But the point is, he adapted, and that is what Suryavanshi needs to learn. Is that he needs to learn how to adapt to something he's not doing good at. So every time there's a short ball, he seems to kind of whip it, and because of his whipping action, the ball, it's not like he's hitting the ball; it's kind of like whipping it. So very often the ball kind of goes, sky high, mid on or mid off or whatever it is, and gets caught. Today he didn't get caught that way, of course, but the point is there always seems to be, a trap that these players are setting for him. If you remember the famous, now famous sequence of events that Ashish Nehra actually orchestrated through Mohammad Siraj, is that they targeted him with a short ball, and he kind of pointed, saying the short ball on his forehead, and that's exactly what happened. Yes, you can say that bodyline bowling, 15-year-old kid, what the hell's going on? But the guy is showing no mercy to the bowlers. Let's be honest. If you don't get him out, you're out of the tournament. So, yeah, something had to be done. So the point is, Vaibhav Suryavanshi is the most tantalizing, exciting thing out there in cricket. At a time and age when you felt that maybe there's too much of cricket, Suryavanshi is the kid who's telling you there isn't. Suryavanshi is the reason why people are tuning in to, let me repeat, an India A game, talking about an India A game rather than an India game. I can't wait to see what happens with this kid.